Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, all you dregs to society, all you rock dwellers, all you sycophants, all you stinkos, all you hateful people who celebrate the true president of the United States and honor America. And by the way, that's what your president-elect, supposedly president-elect, and his vice president-elect think of you. Their words, not mine. But you're always welcome here. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Drader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me as my co-host is the patriot, the warrior from the battleground state, the silver state of Nevada, and that is C.H.A.N.G.E. And you know, Sharon, we talk about Nevada being the battleground state. Wow. It sure is.
It sure is. Well, it's never a dull moment here in Nevada, you know. And it's interesting when they say what stays in Vegas, what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. I don't think so. It looks like everything that we've done here for years under the Harry Reid machine has now been adopted in the other battleground states, and game on. The war is in full swing now. We have some great guests that we're going to be interviewing today. Our first guest is John Cox, who's a former Republican California gubernatorial candidate and the founder of C.H.A.N.G.E. California. He's going to be talking to us about California-centric issues and just what's happening there. Actually, some really hopeful and exciting things in this last election. You know, we think that California is lost, but there may be a resurrection in the offing, and that would be good news for the whole nation. Our second guest is Dr. Julio Gonzalez. He's an orthopedic surgeon, a former representative for the state legislature in Florida. He served as a flight surgeon in the United States Navy. He's also an attorney and an author. He's written several books. And we've asked him to come on and talk about an article that he wrote, Trump versus Buchbar, the mammoth scope of Philadelphia's corruption. Our third guest is our friend George Parry. He is a contributor to the American Spectator, the Federalist, and the Philadelphia Inquirer, but he's also a former federal and state prosecutor. He's a special attorney. He served as special attorney for organized crime and racketeering. What could be more appropriate than someone who knows about crime and racketeering? I can hardly wait to talk to him about what I think has really been criminal activity in our elections, and that's the roundup. You won't want to miss our guests today. So stay tuned with us, of course, through the whole of our show. And Rick, you know, my radar is not going very far outside this election these days. It seems like the more we see, the more we don't know. The more we don't know, the more we become convinced that something really, really bad has happened. It's criminal. We need not attorneys as much as we need criminal investigators to come in, gather evidence, and really develop the crime scene, if I can say that, because it looks like at least all of the battleground states are up for grabs now. They're saying, don't you concede anything, because this is not over. The fat lady has not sung, and we need to have all hands on deck to figure out what really happened. I'm going to say this again. If you saw something in this last election, you need to say something about it. We are gathering evidence in Nevada. You go to EIPNV.com, and you'll see an incident report there. You go to EIP-CA.com, there's an incident report. Download that. Put in that incident report what state you're in, how long you've lived there, and what you saw. If you have firsthand knowledge, if you know that someone voted that shouldn't be voting, put that in there. if you have a picture that you want to take, it's worth 1,000 words. When one of our investigators in 2018 found 19 people registered to vote in a vacant lot. We need to know that kind of stuff. So I'm just encouraging everyone in every state, it's time that we start saying something about the things that we've thought were awful fishy. Well, this election has totally proven that not only did we think it, but it's probably fact.
All right. Sharon, I know you're very involved with this. You have teams of volunteers on the ground in Nevada. What are they doing?
Well, it's kind of an underground operation at this time. I'm not going to say too much about what we're up to. And the reason is because we don't want to alert anybody to anything. You know, we think that, you know, sometimes it's best not to say too much until you really know what you've got going, and that's what's happening. We're really seeing, though, that all over the nation, people are very concerned about whether we'll ever have any fair and honest elections again. You know, we've watched communist takeovers before. I think that's what we're watching right now. They generally send in the terrorists, and these terrorists are not very discerning. They would just as soon shoot a friend as an enemy. So they're rioting in the streets, burning down businesses, just carrying on. That's general communist. That's how they do it. They bring in the brown shirts, the black shirts, the Bolsheviks. They get everything stirred up, create chaos in the streets. When the regime actually takes over, guess who the first guys to go are? It's the brown shirts, the black shirts, and the Bolsheviks. They kill them because, as Stalin said, if they would betray their country, they'll betray us. We can't trust them. They're the first ones gone. I hope that these Antifa guys understand that Black Lives Matter understands it, that their protection is all gone. Once the communists take over, they're done. And of course, we as Christians know that the true enemy of communism is Christianity, because Christianity loves truth, seeks truth, believes all things, bears all things. It has been proven that in every communist takeover, the Christians are persecuted. And why is that? Because we're free thinkers, and we do not bow our knee to any God but the Lord Jesus. No king but King Jesus. And they can't handle that because they want government to be king. And we've certainly been watching that with this new regime that's trying to take over in our country, declaring themselves already the winners of what can only be termed as a scurrilous election cycle. So, you know, I think we are all on notice here that this could be the end of the United States as we know it and our Constitution.
Sharon, let me say this about these rioters, the Antifas, the Black Lives Matter, these other crowds that are in the streets burning and looting and whatever. Some people think, well, now that we got Joe Biden elected, it's going to stop. Well, let me just say, my opinion is it's not going to stop, because these people have learned that with the looting, with the rioting, with the disorder, they have learned that they get their way.
Yeah.
That the other side caves into them. So I think that we're going to see even more looting and rioting, even if Biden is sworn in, because they're going to want to push this administration as far to the left as possible. And as I said, they have learned a lesson very well over the last 50 years. If you don't like the way things are, you loot and riot, and guess what? We're going to get free housing and free food and better education. We're not going to be punished for it. We are going to be rewarded. We're going to be rewarded for it. And I think that's what's going to happen. You get Biden in the White House, this is not going to stop, because the left sees, the left knows that they would have a president that they can manipulate like putty. He will be putty in their hands.
So,
So,
I think that's a good place for a break, don't you?
so you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host is C.H.A.N.G.E, and today's show, like all our shows, is being brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. We're going to take a break, and on the other side, I'll give you my opinion, what I think that all the Trump voters and all the Trump supporters should be doing. Don't go away. Sharon and I will be right back.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with C.H.A.N.G.E and yours truly, Rick Trader. We've got a great lineup of guests. Dr. Julio Gonzalez, John Cox, and George Parry will be joining us as our guests today. But Sharon, I have a couple of things I want to say to our audience out there, to the Trump supporters, to everyone that voted for Donald Trump, and that is, do not let your vote be stolen. And that's what this is. This is a theft of an election that we see happening. This is a political coup like I don't think anyone in this country could ever see. And in the first segment, I talked about how it has been proven that looting and rioting, you get your way. Well, I'm not going to say loot and riot. But what I am calling for is I'm calling for all of the Trump supporters, all his voters, to get out there, to get into the streets, to find out exactly what is going on And do not let this election being stolen. Do not let your vote be knocked out by a fraudulent vote. These cities where all the controversy is. And by the way, it's all battleground states. Isn't that amazing? We got Atlanta, we got Georgia, we got Fulton County, we got Philadelphia and the surrounding suburbs. We've got Pittsburgh, we've got Detroit, we got Milwaukee, we got Las Vegas, we got Reno, we got Phoenix, Chicago, wherever this vote fraud has taken place. I'm calling for those 70 million people. Just like you paraded around in your cars and your trucks with your Trump flags, we need to do the same thing in all these cities and in Washington, D.C. My God, Sharon, if we got 70 million people out into the streets, even 7 million people, Sharon, they would notice. That would terrify them. And I'm not saying loot and riot. What I'm saying is, let your voice be known. Get back out there with your Trump hats, with your Trump flags. Parade around City Hall in Philadelphia. Parade around Convention Hall where they're counting the votes. Stop the vote from being counted. Demand a re-election. Demand re-elections. Because these votes that are out there already, they've been polluted. The honest votes have been polluted by the illegal votes. There's no way to separate them. So we must demand either we stop the clock and we reset the clock to where the vote was on midnight of election day, or we have new votes. And this time we've got to ensure fair and honest elections. No fraud, no fraud. We've got to ensure that poll watchers are allowed to do their jobs. We've got to eliminate this mail-in balloting, this mail-in election, because this was proven actually back in June, Sharon, when New Jersey tried a mail-in election during the primary. It was chaos, Sharon Angle, absolute chaos. In fact, there was one district that they did have a new vote because it was so ripe with fraud. 70 million people who voted for Donald Trump, do not let your vote be stolen. Do not let your voice be silenced. We've got to take a page from the left. We have to take a page from Barack Obama when he said, you go to a knife fight with a gun. We've got to stop going into these fights, fighting with Marcus of Queensberry rules. And again, I'm not saying violent protest. I'm saying peaceful protest. Get out, clog the streets, terrify these people, not with your violence, but with your voices and your presence. This is the United States of America. This is not some banana republic. This is not some South American, whatever they have in South America. This is the United States of America. We cannot let our republic be stolen away from us. And you know what, Sharon, what really cracks me up? Is now we get people like Donna Brazil. From the side that for 4 years has been nothing but tearing Donald Trump down. Now she's calling for peace, unity, harmony. Oh, let's all come together now. Let's all be one. Well, let's all be united. Where was that talk for the last 4 years? Or how about that Whoopi Goldberg, who says to our side, now you gotta suck it up. Suck it up. I don't know what her definition of sucking it up is. But Whoopi, where was the sucking up for the last 4 years? You didn't want to suck it up. Now you're calling on us to suck it up. Again, I'm calling on those 70 million people who voted for Donald Trump. All you people that had car parades and boat parades and Trump flags, get out into your streets. Go to Philadelphia, go to Atlanta, go to Milwaukee, go to Detroit, go to Las Vegas, go to Reno. Demand that this vote be stopped. Demand new elections. Demand new elections. If we get out there en masse, peacefully, with our voices, loud voices, very loud voices, they will be so terrified, they will have no other alternative. Sharon Angle, tell me where I'm wrong.
Well, the only place that I could disagree with you is that I would not say take a leaf out of the left's book or even Obama's book. I would take a leaf out of the Founding Fathers' book. They gave us the Constitution. They said what we needed to do in order to keep our free republic, and that is to follow that Constitution. Every right in the Bill of Rights, every article in the Constitution is there to preserve our freedoms. So if you have been waffling on the First Amendment, saying, well, I won't go and assemble because of COVID or whatever the excuse out there is, honestly, I don't think there is a pandemic anymore. It seems like they're out in the streets. All the rules are gone.
Was called off.
So it was a farce from the beginning. Do what your First Amendment says for you to do, and that is you have the freedom to assemble. You have the freedom of speech. You have the freedom to practice your religion freely. You have the freedom of the press. So those things that are guaranteed to you in the First Amendment, you go do those. Second Amendment, honestly, I had a person ask me on the phone, what's the law in Nevada concerning having a gun? And I said, we have open carry. I think we should get right back to where New Hampshire is, which is the Second Amendment. They don't add to it. They don't take away from it. They don't require, they don't have any rules. They don't make you register your guns. They don't make you register yourself or get yourself licensed to have a gun. It's just simply, you have the right to keep and bear arms, and that right shall not be abridged. And you have the right to a well-armed militia in your state. And guess who the militia is? It's you. So I would say get in there, do your First and Second Amendment. If you just do those two things, it doesn't really matter. You're going to be well on the way to being a free citizen.
All right. Sharon, let's take our next break and bring on our guests. And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be joined by John Cox. John was the Republican candidate for governor in California. He's also the founder of C.H.A.N.G.E California. And we're going to talk about the vote in California and how so many of the things that people voted for, even though they went for Biden in a big way, so many of those things that people voted for in California say, wait a minute, we're not as liberal as you think. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with the best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for a rebroadcast of our show, be it our radio show or a TV show, check out our website. And that's ccrshow.com, ccrshow.com. And with that, Sharon, we do have our first guest of the day with us. And, you know, we love to talk about California-centric issues because it seems like what starts out in California, kind of like a virus, spreads to the rest of the country.
Absolutely.
And Sharon, please make that introduction.
Well, it's always my great pleasure and honor to introduce John Cox, who is a former Republican California gubernatorial candidate and the founder of C.H.A.N.G.E, California. John's an accountant, attorney, businessman, broadcaster, and politician. He became a California resident in 2011 and was the Republican candidate in 2018 for California's gubernatorial election after placing second in the state's June 5th nonpartisan blanket primary. Right. John, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Great to be with you, Sharon. And this week showed that California voters do pay attention, and let's talk about that.
I'd like to. Let's start there. That's what everybody's a buzz about. So let's start there. I think you have a few congressional districts that actually, if we can prove it, they should be. You should be sending some more Republicans to Congress.
Yes, and I'm very happy about that, and I'm also happy that I had, in my organization, had a big role in that. I should give credit to our organization. But we also, I think, sent a message about increasing taxes and extreme left propositions, too, that I'm even as thrilled with or more so, because it shows voters in California are finally paying attention. Gavin Newsom championed a huge payroll tax increase or a real estate tax increase that got defeated. Voters didn't buy that education needed a whole lot more money. They know that we spend $20,000 per kid. That's $40,000 or $400,000 per classroom. That's a lot of money, and all the advertising was that this tax increase was needed for education. And I think the voters know that it's bad management and things like tenure that make it so that our kids don't produce good results. So I was thrilled that that tax increase was killed. We also saw a vote for freedom with the AB5, the Uber and Lyft, the win by Uber and Lyft, and the defeat of the forced unionization of employees. We also saw affirmative action, basically race discrimination defeated. People know that the way to stop discriminating based on race is to stop classifying based on race. So happy about that. We ended the experiment with cash, getting rid of cash bail, which has failed miserably in New York and Chicago and Philadelphia and some other places. So, the lesson here is that the voters are paying attention. I think they'll pay attention even more in the next 2 years to fixing California's problems like housing and homelessness and water and electricity and a lot of other issues that we have in the state. And I'm pretty hopeful that we can get some things done and change the direction of the state.
Well, this kind of makes Gavin Newsom a big loser, doesn't it? I mean, these are the things that he has wanted, and that the voters are saying, no way, not here, not now, not ever. What does that say about Gavin Newsom's chances for re-election or maybe even a recall?
I think they're good to defeat him in re-election, and I think they're decent to get a recall if we can get the signatures on the ballot. We just got a 4-month extension to that to March 17th. St. Patrick's Day, so we'll see if that can happen. But, Mr. Newsom is all about politics, Sharon. I mean, how else do you describe a governor when people's homes and lives are threatened by fire, and his response is, we're going to ban the internal combustion car in 2035? That speaks to a political animal, not to someone who really wants to solve the current problems. And I think that's what people are looking at. They really want solutions. What they get out of Gavin Newsom is affirmative action, reparations, more handouts to the union bosses, but not really a fix to the problems of education, water, electricity, things like this.
So this far left agenda is really not playing well in a state where, if it's going to play at all, it should play well in California.
I don't think they want a far left agenda. I don't think they want a far right agenda. I think they want an agenda that actually fixes problems, Sharon. I think that's where we really get, off the rails here, because I think even conservatives, and I'm a true conservative. I mean, I go back to the Jack Kemp campaign in 1987. So, I mean, I have conservative credentials. But having said that, I think voters really want no part of all these labels and all this partisan divide anymore. I think they want solutions. And I think they really know that the solution is, in many ways, incentives and better management. I've been a businessman for 40 years. I built a business from zero. I started with nothing 40 years ago, and I have a $300 million business. That didn't happen overnight, but it didn't happen without a lot of hard work and solving problems. And that, I think voters are keen to that, and they're kind of disgusted with this far left, far right, right wing, left wing. They just want solutions.
Well, I think that's America today. So what's the solution there to your electoral problems? I thought it's interesting that you call in your bio, they call it a blanket primary. That's a really interesting euphemism for, we don't have primaries anymore. We have runoffs. Explain the situation there and how you think we can get this fixed, because looking at what now has happened nationwide, we center in on California because it all started there. What goes on in California does not stay in California.
Well, you're right, and this forced unionization, that Uber and Lyft fought, was certainly planned on the agenda in Washington, D.C., and I hope that's killed now. But, we have to look at what we did in these congressional districts, Sharon, and I hope that really gets some attention nationwide. And I'll tell you why. If you look at the entire congressional landscape in California, first of all, the president got killed out here, 65 to 32. I mean, every media outlet except for yours probably was, very hard on the president, and his personality and all the things that are going on there. Didn't really focus on the issues and the things he got done. They focused on the tweets and all the other things that, to me, are extraneous. But be that as it may, people did focus on them. So in the face of a 65 to 32 headwind, longtime congressmen from red districts, Tom McClintock, Devin Nunes, had tough elections, very tough. Darrell Issa barely survived in the 50th, which is a very red district. The Republican registration is overwhelming in that district. What happened there? Well, obviously they were swimming upstream. They had a big headwind against them in this avalanche of votes for Biden. Take a look at two other districts, the 45th and the 49th. Brian Marriott, a good candidate, Greg Rafts in 45, both lost by big numbers. What happened, though, in the four districts that you just mentioned at the outset here, the ones that flipped, or we hope all flipped? It's now confirmed that David Valadao won in 21, that Michelle Steele won in 48, that it looks like Young Kim is going to pull out of 39, and it may well be that Mike Garcia keeps the 25th. The issue with those four districts is that's where Change California, the organization that I'm leading, activated independent voters. We went to these independent voters and we said, we don't care about partisanship. Here is the problem: education, cost of living, homelessness, housing. Here's some solutions that we're talking about. And please, if you want change, come out and vote. So we developed turnout of these independent voters. We educated them. We got them excited about changing the calculus in California. And guess what, Sharon? They came out. Now, the Republican Party spent a lot of money there. The Democrats spent a lot of money. My suspicion is that those butted heads and probably fought to a draw. I really believe that Change California was the difference, the decider, as that goes, and getting these independent, these unaffiliated voters to pay attention and turn out and look at the results. So I'm very encouraged, and we're going to start in January with rolling this out statewide in California. And my hope is if we're having this call 2 years from now, we'll have maybe a new governor and maybe some new legislators and a whole new agenda in Sacramento. And I think that's long overdue.
Long overdue. We are talking with our guest, John Cox, who's the former Republican gubernatorial candidate and the founder of Change California. I'm Sharon Engel here with Rick Trader, my co-host, and we are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, NetTalk America, AM, FM, 24/7, and you can also watch us on the AUN TV network in Northern California, wonderful places like San Francisco, San Rafael, Marin County, North Bay, Redding, Chico, Napa Valley, Fort Bragg, you name it, we're there in Northern California. And of course, our guest is from California, talking to us in a conversation about what goes on in California. Doesn't stay in California. Watch out, it's coming to a state near you. We'll continue this conversation after this break.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Broken AC, $4,600. Water heater, $1,500. Fridge on the fritz, $1,000. You need home warranty coverage from the Home Service Club for around $1 a day. If any of your covered appliances and systems break down, HSC will either repair or replace them.
HSC provides coverage of up to 47 different appliances and systems in your home.
I trust HSC.
HSC has over 15,000 pre-screened, highly rated technicians with the fastest response time in the industry. They cover everything from ACs, stoves, fridges, pool pumps, and more. Call the number on your screen now for a free, no-obligation quote from a trusted HSC specialist about a home warranty for your entire home, backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get 1 month free plus $75 off your first year of coverage. 1 month free and $75 off your first year. The Home Service Club.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and 0 deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And Sharon mentioned our TV stations, so I want to give a shout out to our radio stations. Folks who are listening to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, and Sparks, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder, Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. John Cox is our guest. He's the former Republican gubernatorial candidate and the founder of Change California. And we're discussing the election results in California. And John, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
John, give us that website for Change California. What is it, changecalifornia.org or
tell our audience? change-ca.org. Change-ca.org. Yeah.
Right. Well, John, in the first part of the election, you and Sharon talked about some of the ballot initiatives. For instance, Proposition 15, if passed, would have raised $8 billion by taxing commercial industrial properties. That was shut down. Proposition 15, if passed, would have raised, Proposition 16, an initiative that would have amended the state's constitution to allow affirmative action. That was shot down. Big. Proposition 21, that would have allowed local jurisdictions to implement rent controls. That was shot down. Big. Uber, allowing Uber to operate. John, when I look at this, these are all conservative principles. All these propositions were shot down in a state that Joe Biden won 2-1. Right. What that's saying to me is the Republican Party definitely has a PR problem in California, because when you put up their conservative issues without an R or a D, okay, the voters in California said, we reject big government. We reject big government spending. But when you put an R or a D, especially in front of Trump or Biden, or behind Trump or Biden, they vote for the D. Talk to us about that public relations problem Republicans have in California.
I don't know that it's a public relations problem as much as, Rick, it's a problem of getting to each and every voter. As I said in our earlier segment, C.H.A.N.G.E California, this organization that I founded, which hires military veterans, by the way, to go door to door and talk to people. We had success with this. We can point to these 4 districts that we were in where we turned out independent voters, where we talked to them about issues, and they responded. Now, you're right, statewide, I think the problem is that the Republican Party hasn't devoted resources to building the ground game. I mean, let's face it. We have a lot of consultants who make a lot of money from TV and radio advertising. You, as well as anybody, know how many media markets there are in this state. There's 40 million people, and I think there's something like 13 separate media markets in this state. That cries out for a bunch of consultants to make a lot of money placing a lot of advertising. Well, I'm not sure that advertising is the best way, because you can only communicate so many concepts in a 30-second TV ad, and usually they're not communicated very well. Having said that, we had people on the phones, door to door, actually having face-to-face conversations or voice-to-voice conversations with people that lasted a few minutes, where somebody could actually get introduced to concepts and introduced to differences and solutions to problems and things like that. So if I had to say the Republican Party's problem is that we haven't devoted the resources and the effort to a ground game in this state. And let me tell you, that's something that I'm going to see changed in the next couple of years if I have anything to say about it.
John, you know what you're saying to me is it's that personal contact.
Yes.
It's that with these ballot initiatives, with these congressional districts that flipped, the congressional districts that was held, organizations like yours, C.H.A.N.G.E California, it was that personal contact, and maybe that needs to be done more in all of California. Actually have someone people can relate to, either knock on their door or call them on the phone and talk person to person.
I completely agree, and I'm going to try to get that message across to the people who donate in California. There's a lot of them, and we got to stop just throwing money away on television. You need a certain amount of TV. Obviously, Uber and Lyft spent millions on television, but I think the concepts were even more important. The issue in Prop 22, which was this freelance worker thing, was liberty and freedom. Basically, I mean, the idea that people should be able to freelance and have their own gig and have the freedom and liberty to be able to pursue their own gig. I think that's a concept that most people like. The idea that a tax increase, this real estate tax increase, was going to vastly improve education. California voters have heard this before. They heard it a few years ago when Jerry Brown passed a huge income tax increase, and they saw what happened. The education system didn't improve. And then Gavin Newsom gets elected, and he kills charter schools, which were the only respite for a lot of families, especially Hispanic and black families that, many of them, at the lower ends of the economic scale, that can't afford to send their kids to private school like Gavin Newsom can. They looked at this and said, gee, you're telling me tax increases are going to help? No, you got to really get to the nub of the issue, and that is we've got to improve the classroom experience for children. And you only do that with better teachers and paying teachers more and getting rid of a lot of this fat in the budget. So I think the lesson of this is that people respond to issues, Rick, but they also need to have that personal touch, and that's what I'm talking about with this organization in the next couple of years.
Well, speaking of Gavin Newsom, I looked at an article that was printed in California newspaper. In the article, it said, talking about the election for president, the election dealt Gavin Newsom a pretty poor hand, a hand that could set the course for the administration for years to come. Well, first of all, we've talked about the ballot initiatives that were turned down. But also, he's not going to have Donald Trump. Let's pray, hope and pray he does. But if he does not have Donald Trump to blame anymore,
right?
Wow, that finger that he's pointing at Donald Trump, 4 fingers are pointing back at him now. Political consultant Dan Newman said that he'd worked with Newsom in San Francisco, said that everyone knows it's going to be a tough hand to play for Gavin Newsom. There's already a recall petition out there. Talk about Gavin Newsom and his potential future or lack thereof.
Well, look at it, Rick. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, and it's the quality of life. People drive through their neighborhood and they see homeless people all across the street. And Gavin Newsom's only response is housing. Let's put tents up or let's spend ungodly amounts of money, like $750 a square foot to build homeless units. Mm-hmm. Give you a frame of reference, by the way, I build apartments for about $100 a foot in Indiana. So the idea that it's going to cost $750 a foot in California means that somebody's getting ripped off out here, obviously. Yeah. So, people aren't stupid, and I think they showed it in this election. They're smart. The voter in this state gets it, and they're not going to listen to this garbage. They're not going to sit there and just blame climate change for forest fires. They're going to say, hey, why don't we revive the timber industry so that they help maintain the forest? Why don't we do something about getting rid of dead trees? And why don't we build an air force with 100 airplanes that can go in and douse a fire before it becomes an inferno? Why do we wait until these fires become these outrageous, raging infernos and they're almost impossible to put out? Let's get airplanes in there immediately and throw a ton of water on them and get them out right away. Logic. Intelligent solutions like this, I think, are what people will be looking for. Gavin Newsom is all about politics, and let's face it, he's just a climber who wants to be president, and he knows that in order to be president, he's got to appeal to the far, far left. That's why you have reparations. That's why you had affirmative action. That's why you have tax increases and governments provided health care, because that's what the extreme left wants. But those aren't good solutions.
John Cox, we want to thank you so much for joining us. If we had a little more time, we'd talk about a Gavin Newsom Thanksgiving, but hopefully we'll have you back on before Thanksgiving. But John, please tell our audience how they can follow your work, read the things you write, and find out more about Change California. Well, go to Facebook. We're also on Parler, and they can obviously go to our website, change-ca.org. I tweet every now and then. I'm certainly, I tweet about issues and things like that. I try not to make it, personal. Follow me on all those sources. And, I'm very open and very willing to interact with voters. And we're going to see some changes come 22. I really believe that. I think the voters of this state have just headed up to here, and they're ready for changes, and I think this election showed it. I'm very encouraged. I think so. I think these elections have been spearhead for change in California. Again, John Cox, thank you so much for joining us. Take care, and God bless. Thank you. Appreciate it. You are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show. We share an angle, and yours truly, Rick Trader. Dr. Julio Gonzalez is going to be joining us after the break, and he's going to talk about an article he wrote, The Mammoth Scope of Philadelphia's Corruption. They're talking about my hometown. Don't go away. We're going to be right back.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of our show, or even better, share it with a friend, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. You'll find our TV show there, our radio show there, and a lot of other terrific articles and information. Sharon, I love our old-time guest, our long-time guest, but I also love our new guests, and we have one with us today. Please make that introduction.
Well, it's truly an honor and a privilege for me to introduce Dr. Julio Gonzalez, who is an orthopedic surgeon, former state representative in the Florida House of Representatives, and an attorney. He served as a flight surgeon in the United States Navy, deploying twice aboard the U.S.S. America to the Mediterranean Sea, the Persian Gulf, Yugoslavia, and Somalia. He is in private practice in Venice, Florida, with privileges at Venice Regional Bayfront Health, Inglewood Community Hospital, and Doctors Hospital at Sarasota. At Venice Regional, he has served as the Chief of Surgery, Chief of Staff, and the Board of Trustees, among other positions, and has chaired the Physicians Ad Hoc COVID-19 Committee. His prior publications include Coronalessons, the case for free market health care, Dictionary of Orthopaedic Terminology, Healthcare Reform, and The Truth and the Federalist Pages, A Constitutional Path to Restoring America's Greatness. Dr. Gonzalez, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Boy, that was a mouthful.
Yeah, that's you.
It's I've kind of stumbled into this, I promise you. I'd rather be having a margarita down at the beach, although it's raining cats and dogs right now with a hurricane passing us by.
Well, I hope that it's passing you by. You know, we've heard some devastating stories from other places, so it's our prayer that Florida misses that occasion. You've written an article, round one, Trump versus Bukvar, the mammoth scope of Philadelphia's corruption. So what's a guy in Florida got to do with Philadelphia's corruption? Tell me how you got into that article and why you wrote it.
It's my country.
Yeah.
And what happens in Philadelphia, unfortunately, doesn't stay in Philadelphia. It affects all the rest of us in Florida and all across the nation. I wrote a book, one of the first forays that I had into really serious scholarship was this book called The Federalist Pages. And The Federalist Pages was this treatise where I figured, look, if Madison and Jay and Hamilton had to write the Federalist Papers, then shouldn't we, after 239 years of evidence of history, revisit the topic of why we should have a constitution, what it means and why it's good and why we should all uphold it? And from that came the website where you guys found the article called thefederalistpages.com. It's named after the book. And I write a lot about healthcare. I write a lot about constitutional issues. And everything that's happening in this election just directly impacts the integrity of our Constitution. And the amount of inconsistencies, to put it mildly, that we're seeing in Philadelphia just boggles the mind. The article that you wrote was a summary and a little bit of a mini analysis of the president's case, the campaign's case against Pennsylvania and Philadelphia about those very irregularities.
Okay, so who's Bukvar? Or what is Bukvar?
Bukvar is the Secretary of State in Pennsylvania, I believe. And so it is the person who holds the office, so the lawsuit is against the office. And so in the capacity of the office, Bukvar is being sued.
Okay, so let's go through. Let's see what they are doing in Philadelphia, because I'm here in Nevada. We're watching this thing. Lots of incidences of what we call anomalous or very suspicious behavior in voting out here.
Right.
So let's talk about what they're doing in Philadelphia. Maybe there's some of the same things.
Well, they are, and there's a little bit of a heavier tilt in Philadelphia on the digital or the virtual attack. So essentially, what I've summarized in my speeches and my talks on this issue is that this has been a two-pronged attack on the electorate. One is the conventional attack, which is Guido tells Roger that he's going to give him some dead people's votes and he's going to count them, and here's a 50, that kind of stuff. And certainly that's been going on in Philadelphia. Part of the issue of how Philadelphia has handled it is by covering and keeping people from being able to review the process, and that is a threat to the integrity of our electoral system. But also in Philadelphia and in Pennsylvania in general, and in Michigan, not so much. I haven't heard in Nevada, but also in that system, there's been a virtual attack, which is a 21st century high tech attack, which I think is the biggest threat. When Florida went to computer generated, voting, balloting, canvassing, I remember thinking, well, all I have to do is change the software. All I have to do is change the software. And then I went, who would do that? There's no way. And there you go. There goes the naive. And that seems to be essentially what has happened with these multiple glitches. Also, one other comment about Philadelphia is there have been some witnesses of USB flash drives being inputted into counting machines, and all of a sudden, magically, the numbers change. That happened also in Michigan. So there's a lot of issues to be investigated. There's a lot of reason for second guessing. and they really need to be ironed out very quickly before we figured out who's going to be our next president.
Well, and there seems to be people that are coming forward and really giving testimony that fraud or criminal activity was going on. There's that case of that United Postal Service worker, and now all of a sudden he's recanting. What's that about?
Well, I heard he didn't recant. I heard that he came out and said that he called out the Washington Post for saying that he recanted. He said that was a falsehood. There have been others that have come out, and the latest that I heard hours ago, this is continuously changing, so forgive me for not having completely just second sourced the story, but it sounds like people are now starting to talk about witnesses about tampering with the software as well. So there's a lot going on, and it needs to be investigated. The witnesses that we see, a lot of them, and I'll tell you, on the Federalist Pages, the website, federalistpages.com, I have a page called the Federalist Pages News, which is just a series of links, and I try to go with original articles, original documents. And in there, I have the actual complaint. And in the complaint, you have over a dozen affidavits, witness testimonies that the president's campaign claims substantiates your comments about witnesses. And the examples are there for you to read.
Well, we'll be sure and direct our listeners there so they can go see the evidence for themselves. When we talk about the Postal Service, this postal worker saw stuff. He reported it. I saw a report last night of a Nevada poll worker, and she said, I don't want you to know my voice. I don't want you to, I want my face blacked out. Is there a certain amount of intimidation or coercion or even outright threats to these folks that are coming forward and whistleblowing?
Of course, the pressure must be immense, and these are thugs that are engaged in illegal activities, and like in any other thuggery, you will see people try to shut them down because nobody wants to go to jail, but somebody's got to go to jail over this. At least I hope they do. In Nevada, we were talking a little bit more. I've not seen that much of the virtual problem. In Nevada, it's been allegations, right? We haven't proven anything, and I haven't seen the proof. But allegations of dead people voting, which, by the way, there's a similar lawsuit by the public interest law firm on Sunday, found 210,000 dead people on the rolls in Pennsylvania. But anyway,
Dr. Gonzalez, if I could interrupt for a minute, if you want proof of dead people voting in Nevada or people that vote in Nevada that live somewhere else, you're talking to the lady that actually has the proof.
Well, awesome. I'm glad you do, because obviously over here, being exposed to public information, things that are available to the public, I haven't seen the actual proof. But I see the list that the president's campaign provided Nevada in their complaint about over 3,000 people who actually voted, not in the rolls, they actually voted that lived outside of Nevada. I hear that list has now grown to 7,000, and that doesn't include our corpses.
Our corpses.
And by the way, I think Donald Trump...
They should be easy to count, I would think.
I think Donald Trump did a terrible mistake because he did not campaign in the cemeteries. He should have campaigned in the cemeteries as kid. This race would have gone totally different.
Well, certainly Lyndon B. Johnson gave him the template, the go-ahead to do that. I think it was Lyndon B. Johnson that said dead people have the right to vote too.
Well, imagine the dead people having had the right to vote, and now multiplied with computer-generated software lists that you can just, with a flick of the button, multiply by thousands.
Wow.
And what do you know? We're hearing some kind of new stuff about these Dominion voting machines and this whole new software situation with scorecard and the hammer. Is that reality? What's that about?
Well, the existence of the software is definitely reality. The probability that it got deployed, I think, is great. The conversation about that is mostly centered on the Michigan lawsuit that got filed last night by Sidney Powell and Associates. I have not had the pleasure, I think I will over the next hour, of reading her complaint. So I don't know the details there other than what she has said in interviews. But the most compelling thing that I have come across regarding that is General McEnany's prediction that it would happen. He said it on November 2nd with Steve Bannon. And he's there and he's explaining how it's going to happen. He explains the software. He explains how the software is pre-designed to flip votes up to a margin of 3% under certain pre-programmed conditions. You don't have to do anything. The computer will do it automatically. And he said it'll take place sometime on Tuesday night. And wouldn't you know it, just like he predicted, it happened.
And sometime on Tuesday night, this whole thing went south, didn't it?
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's a full-scale robbery.
Yeah. Well, we were watching it. We broadcast on Tuesday night, and we started to watch him flipping it, and it was truly amazing. We've been talking here with Dr. Julio Gonzalez, who's an orthopedic surgeon, former state representative in Florida, attorney, and author. And he's also written an article that we've been discussing about the Philadelphia corruption of the election. I'm Sharon Engel here with my co-host Rick Trader, and we are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios in and around the world on the internet on TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM/FM 24/7. You can also watch us on the AUN TV network in Northern California, and we will be right back after these messages.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing one-day bath and shower remodeling. The complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day. And for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And as I love to do, I love to thank the folks who are listening to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and now in Sparks, Nevada. Our guest this segment is Dr. Julio Gonzalez. He's an orthopedic surgeon, former representative for the Florida House of Representatives, attorney, and also a writer. His latest book is, and doctor, please don't be shy, hold these books up, Coronalessons and the Case for Free Market Healthcare. Dr. Gonzalez, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time. Doctor, we're discussing your article, The Mammoth Scope of Philadelphia's Corruption. You and Sharon touched on being naive. I was born in Philadelphia. I've lived near Philadelphia most of my life. Anybody who is naive about the corruption coming out of Philadelphia, they're not the brightest bulb on the tree, let me tell you that. Philadelphia has a long, long history of voting corruption. And if I could criticize President Trump, let's throw the rest of the Republicans in the mix. If I have any complaint about President Trump, he should have seen this. 3 years ago, he should have seen this. He should have seen the scope of voter fraud and corruption, not just in Philadelphia, but across this country, and something should have been done to stop it a long, long time ago. Couple stories. In 2012, when Barack Obama ran against Mitt Romney, there were 59 voting districts in Philadelphia, and I can't tell you how many voting districts there are in Philadelphia, but in 59 of those voting districts, taking in over 19,000 votes, there was not a single vote for Mitt Romney. Not a single. Now, to me, that's impossible.
Castro didn't do as well in Havana. I mean, seriously, I remember that. And there were a couple of districts in Ohio where it was like whatever it was to zero.
Yeah.
Totally amazing. Totally amazing. And by the way, there were over 100,000 ballots that were dropped off in Philadelphia and in Detroit, which had the same margin, 100% to zero, this time in favor of Biden, at 3 o'clock in the morning. What is that all about? Statistically, that makes no sense.
Doctor, in your article, you talk about more than Philadelphia, but some of the surrounding suburbs in Philadelphia, one being Delaware County. Talk about Delaware County and what went on there.
So in Delaware County, if my recollection serves, there was a mammoth amount of votes that were tallied with, number one, that were accepted afterwards, after the closing time that was supposed to occur in violation of state law, state election law. You can correct me there, but that's what the complaint discusses, and I have no reason to doubt its authenticity. And then, of course, the other thing that they did was prevent voter review or representative review. And I don't remember the exact number of votes off the top of my head, having written the article a couple of times and being swamped with all sorts of statistics, but it was a 6-digit figure worth of votes.
Like there's 114,000. Does that number ring a bell?
So the thank you for the 114,000, because I was looking at that today. It was 114,000 at I forget what time, But by December the 8th, it was 127,000. So there came in an extra 13,000 came in without, to quote the campaign's complaint, without any explanation of how these votes arrived. Now the remedy that the campaign asks for is a erasing, just doing away of all the ballots that came in after November 4th, again, in offensively to state law. We'll see. See, there's a number of things. We've discussed a number of times about whether there was corruption. There was corruption. I am so offended at Fox News yesterday actually having the audacity to say that there's no evidence, there isn't a shred of evidence that that widespread corruption occurred. There is more than a shred of evidence.
I think there has got to have been a conspiracy. I think the Justice Department needs to get involved. I think that they need to find out, Doctor, I don't think that individuals conspired with their brother and sister to do this. I think there had to be a mass conspiracy among the Democrat Party.
Agreed.
Bringing together Philadelphia, Atlanta, Detroit, Las Vegas, Phoenix. Look what happened. Look what happened. Sharon and I and a couple of our co-hosts, we were doing a show Tuesday night. We were on the air till 3 a.m. We saw what happened.
Right.
President Trump had massive leads. Right. And then they decided, well, we're going to stop voting, or we're going to stop counting now, and we're not going to declare a winner.
Right.
And poof, by the next morning, that lead is being sliced massively, and every time there's another report that leads are being sliced. Soon he has no lead, he's behind. And then they decide to start calling the elections. Isn't that amazing?
It's beyond words. I've never seen anything like it. Essentially what they did was they counted the in-person votes first. Then they stopped because now they could do their little calculation about how many votes they needed. And then they go and call the pizza shop to deliver some more ballots for them. Now, obviously, look, before everybody freaks out, I have no proof of this. I just suspect that it sounds like this is the way that it happened. Unfortunately, and yes, the DOJ must investigate it. It's imperative. Under a Biden
Do we have time? Do you know, I'm going to call, you are exactly Dr. Gonzalez. I'm going to call on the lawyer part of you. Do we have time? Is there time?
We do not have time for a DOJ investigation. That's exactly where I was going. And it will not happen under the Biden administration. We do have the time for the lawsuits to remedy the situation. We do have time for that. The proof is not beyond all reasonable doubt. It's a preponderance of evidence, and it goes straight to the Supreme Court so they can intervene. The question is this. Here's what I tell folks, and here's my conclusion. Yes, the fraud took place. The question is really, can they prove it in such a short amount of time, and how big can they prove it? Is it enough to make a difference? And then the real kicker, will the courts have the courage to overturn thousands of votes if they are called to do so by the strength of the evidence?
Do they have the courage to call for new elections in these disputed districts in Philadelphia, Atlanta, Detroit, Las Vegas, Reno, Phoenix, Milwaukee? I mean, because the reports of this fraud, like we said, was just not in Philadelphia. There seems to have been this widespread voter fraud throughout the country, several states, and you know what's interesting? You know what's interesting, Doctor?
The whole thing is
all battleground states.
Isn't that amazing?
They were all battleground states, and every one of them, except for Georgia, every one of them had a Democrat as governor.
Well, and in Georgia, the fraud was largely concentrated in Atlanta, which is a Democrat-run city. But what's fascinating about your point regarding the location of these Biden overwhelming wins is that, in point of fact, Joe Biden underperformed compared to Hillary Clinton and compared to Barack Obama in every state. And actually, I keep getting corrected by my wife, who does a lot of the research with me. She keeps telling me it wasn't even the whole state, it's the cities. Except in those cities in the battleground states. So New York had a lot of corruption. He overperformed there. Philadelphia, we talked about that. Wisconsin had it, and Detroit had it, and in Atlanta. Other than those places, he underperformed. What a coincidence that the only places that he overperformed is where it counts.
Doctor, we got to go, but a couple of things before we got to go. You know who I think else knew about this? Fox News. I think Fox News must have known about this, and that's why they refused to call. Same thing with CNN and MSNBC and ABC. I think they all knew that this was going to hit, Doctor. Hey, Doctor,
yes, sir.
Before we go, you got to tell our audience how to follow your work, read your articles, your website, where to get your books. Give us all that 411.
All you got to do is go to www.thefederalistpages.com. Not the papers, those were written by greater minds than mine, but thefederalistpages.com. It's all there.
And again, hold up those books for us, please.
So one is the case for free market healthcare. This is the reason why China unleashed the virus. And the second one is Coronalessons.
All right. Dr. Julio Gonzalez, great to have you on. We hope this is the first visit of many, many, many.
Love being here. I'd love to be on anytime.
Oh, you also do podcasts too, and it can be found on your website?
On my website, I'm doing short videos now recently. So, yes, come on over. It's all there.
And I want to ask our audience, please don't hold that great head of hair against them.
Funny glasses.
Dr. Gonzalez, again, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
God bless you all. Thanks for all you're doing.
And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with C.H.A.N.G.E and yours truly, Rick Trader. We're going to continue the discussion about the fraud in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. On the other side of the break, we're going to have George Parry with us, who is also an attorney. He's a contributor with the American Spectator. George has written an article, Lawyers, Guns, and Money. Sounds like a song to me, but it's not a very good one. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
And once again, we want to thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for a rebroadcast of our show, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Also, be sure to like us, friend us, and follow us on those evil places like Facebook and on Twitter. And with that, Sharon, we do have our next guest with us, and please make that introduction.
Well, it's always my honor and pleasure to introduce our friend George Parry, who's a contributor to the American Spectator, the Federalist, and the Philadelphia Inquirer. George is a former federal and state prosecutor. He has served as special attorney for the Organized Crime and Racketeering Section, U.S. Department of Justice, a unit chief in the Investigations Division, Philadelphia District Attorney's Office, a special organized crime prosecutor, Blair and Cambria counties, and a legal analyst for KYW-TV in Philadelphia. George, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, thank you, Sharon. It's nice to be with you.
Well, I'm glad to have somebody in law enforcement on the ground looking at what's going on. It looks like full-scale criminal activity across the nation. And, you know, Philadelphia just seems to be one of the hot spots. Talk to us a little bit about, is there really crime abroad, or are we just overreacting to what's happened?
No, you're not overreacting at all. What's happening right now in Philadelphia in particular is typical of the way that elections are always handled in Philadelphia. Right now, we have had, on the eve of the election, our Democrat governor and our Democrat Secretary of State working with 4 Democrats on the state Supreme Court basically rewrote our election laws as they pertain to the use of mail-in ballots. They eliminated the matching signature requirement. In other words, mail-in ballots no longer have to have signatures that match the signatures on file. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania said, or the 4 Democrats on the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania said that if the signatures don't match, the ballot is still going to be presumed to be valid, and it will be up to anyone challenging that ballot to prove otherwise. And that's just an open invitation to ballot fraud. And then that same group, the governor, Secretary of State, and the 4 Democrats on the state Supreme Court, eliminated or extended the deadline for receiving ballots, mail-in ballots. Under the existing election law, the deadline for receiving those ballots was on election day. They extended it by 3 days. And they said, but hey, there isn't going to be a problem here because the ballots will have to be postmarked by election day, on or by election day. Well, that's just great, except in a footnote, the Supreme Court then said, oh, and by the way, if a ballot comes in without a postmark or a legible postmark, it will be presumed to have been received by election day. Again, just total nonsense set up to sow chaos into the whole process and to make it easier and easier to manufacture ballots. Okay, now what happened on election day? Well, in Pennsylvania, under Pennsylvania law, you are not allowed to count mail-in ballots before election day. The counting has to start, even mail-in ballots, has to start on election day. But in Democrat strongholds like Philadelphia and Allegheny County, they began canvassing the ballots, and there were no Republican electors or observers invited to these proceedings. they began reviewing ballots looking for any defects, so-called, say missing signatures or whatever. And the Democrats were then going out to those voters to have them, quote, cure, close quote, the defective ballots. Blatantly illegal, not permitted under election law, but that's what they were doing. But the real problems didn't start until they started counting the mail-in ballots. Now, under Pennsylvania law, the Republicans are allowed, both parties are allowed to have observers present when the ballots are processed. And in Philadelphia and Allegheny counties, the Republican watchers, observers, were physically prevented from monitoring that process. In Philadelphia, they were kept 20 to 30 feet away from the counting tables. They weren't allowed to come any closer. And what happened? Well, you have, with mail-in ballots, you have a ballot inside what's called a security envelope. And then there is the outer envelope, which is signed by the voter, and it has the voter's information. Now, the way it's supposed to work is when the ballot is removed from the outer envelope, before it can be counted, observers from both parties are able to, or supposed to be able to observe that indeed it's been signed and, you know, it has a proper postmark and that, you know, it's from a person who's alive, because we've had 21,000 dead people so far on the voting rolls here. And since the Republicans were not allowed to participate in that process, what was happening in the Philadelphia Convention Center and out in Allegheny County, the people processing the ballots would just take them out of the envelope with the signature, put the envelope in one pile, and process the ballot so that it was counted. Well, you have no way of knowing if it's a legitimate ballot or not. And according to the lawsuit that the Republicans filed in the Middle District, that is the federal court here in Pennsylvania, excuse me, they believe that over 680,000 mail-in ballots have been processed in this manner. Now, they're saying that since they were processed in this manner, they are invalid ballots as a matter of law. Now, I'm not an election lawyer. I don't know whether or not that's the case, but that's the argument that they're advancing. And their proposed remedy is that those 680,000 ballots that were processed in that must be invalidated and cannot be counted as part of the total. We have no idea, however, who voted for who, those 680,000 ballots. I have no idea the impact. I mean, what you have here in Pennsylvania is utter and total chaos created by our Democrat governor, our Democrat Secretary of State, and 4 Democrats on the state Supreme Court. When it comes to the waiver of the signature requirement by the Supreme Court, as well as the extension of the deadline for receiving ballots, those issues were taken to the Supreme Court of the United States before the election. And Chief Justice Roberts, the savior of Obamacare, sided up with the 3 liberals on the court in saying that they would not stay the mandate of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Pennsylvania to proceed with these crazy, chaotic new rules. Under the U.S. Constitution, only the state legislature can put the rules in place for the selection of electors, and that includes how these presidential elections are conducted. So now, Justice Alito, who is the circuit justice for Pennsylvania, has issued an order saying you've got to isolate the ballots that came in after Election Day. Well, again, the Democrat Secretary of State for Pennsylvania has issued conflicting guidance to the counties, and the net effect has been nothing got segregated. We don't know what ballots came in after Election Day and what ballots didn't come in after Election Day, and there's no way to tell because the ballots have been separated from the envelopes that they came in. So we don't know what's postmarked, what isn't postmarked. We don't know when they came in. They can, they can say, 10 ballots came in after Election Day, or it could be 100,000 ballots. We just don't know. So that's where things are right now in Pennsylvania. 20 electoral votes are at stake. And the only bright spot in all of this, look, the Republicans have filed this massive lawsuit where they're seeking to invalidate 680,000 ballots. They may be right on the law, or they may not be. I simply don't know. Again, I'm not an election law lawyer. I got to tell you, asking a judge to invalidate 680,000 ballots in a presidential election is a pretty tall order. And if a judge does that, and I'd be surprised if he does, but if he does, he's going to have to hire a food taster and a bunch of bodyguards because the mob will be after him. So I don't know what the chances are of the Republican lawsuit succeeding, but there is one bright spot in all of this, and that is that 5 days ago, the Speaker of the Pennsylvania House, and understand in Pennsylvania, both houses of the state legislature have Republican majorities. The Speaker of the Pennsylvania House wrote to the governor pointing out all of the irregularities that have occurred, all of the nonsense that I just got through describing to you, and then saying that the House is requesting, to use their word, his word, an audit of the election, going back through and recounting the ballots and trying to put the situation back together. I don't know if that's going to be possible given the way these mail-in ballots have been handled. But the state legislature is basically in control of how the Electoral College vote is handled here in Pennsylvania. And it may be that they hold the ultimate trump card where they could, in the final analysis, say, we're not satisfied that we had an honest election here, and therefore we're not going to go along with any certification by the Secretary of State of this election, and we may wind up with no electoral votes coming in from Pennsylvania if the state legislature exercises its authority in that matter.
George, that's problematic.
Yeah,
that's
no
problematic for Donald Trump because he needs those 20 electoral votes.
Well, except the same thing could wind up in Michigan and Wisconsin, where they both have Republican legislatures. And guess what? If it happens in those states as well as Pennsylvania, nobody wins in the Electoral College.
Does that mean,
George,
does it go a revote? Can the courts demand a revote? Can the Supreme Court? Sorry, Sharon, I know I'm stepping on your toes here, but you know how I get excited. George, Sharon, I'll let you have my segment, but George, I got to ask this question. Does the Supreme Court, does Alito have the power to say Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, you've got to revote?
No, I don't see how that could happen. But what happens if nobody wins in the Electoral College? It goes to the House of Representatives.
Controlled by the Democrats, by the...
No. Each state gets one vote. And
Gotcha.
that vote is determined by the representatives in the House of Representatives. Here's the good news. The Republicans control 31 of those votes. votes in the House. The Democrats control 19 votes in the House. If this thing goes to the House of Representatives, Donald Trump gets reelected.
Well, Sharon, I promised you could have my segment of time here, and I'm a man on my word. Swing it to you.
Okay. Well, I'm so interested in George's background in investigation because it sounds like we've got some real forensic stuff going on here now. This is a criminal investigation. I'm wondering, George, have they overplayed their hand? We know that a little bit of fraud is hard to detect, but when it's so widespread and in so many states, before the break I said, oops, and that meant that they have overplayed their hand. They didn't want it to go all the way to Congress because guess what? They may have won, but now they've lost with their shenanigans.
Well, we're a long way from having this thing go to the House of Representatives. I mean, that's one possible result of this. Look, there's going to be an automatic recount in Wisconsin. There's going to be an automatic recount in Michigan. There's one that was announced today for Georgia where the margin is very, very close. And frankly, if the state legislature in Pennsylvania has its way, there will be a recount here in Pennsylvania. Now, in addition to the mail-in ballots, which are just an invitation to disaster. I mean, and everybody knew that. I mean, if you look back at the campaigns, Joe Biden is going around, he gets 12 people in a parking lot honking their horns. Donald Trump's got, 50,000 people and stuff. And the Democrats are running around like, hey, we got this in the bag. Because they understood full well what could happen.
They knew. They knew the fix was in.
I don't think this shoe is going to drop until next week. Hey, Rick, you're stepping on Sharon's segment.
It's okay. You can't stop a rant.
I'll be a good boy, I promise, both of you. I'll be a good boy. I'll even mute my mic. I'll mute my mic here.
Yeah. Overruled. You're not allowed to speak. Sharon, you go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, George. It really is amazing to me that we've got it all in battleground states. Every one of these states that's having troubles is a battleground state. Every one of us are experiencing the same thing. As you were going through the rundown of what's going on in Pennsylvania, I could have said ditto, ditto, ditto here in Nevada because we're finding those same things. And isn't that a pattern? I mean, when you get a pattern like that in a criminal case, you say, this is serial criminality. What do we got here? Serial fraud?
Yeah, well, try this one on for size. In all of these battleground states, I don't know about Nevada, but in the battleground states, what happened in the evening hours on Election Day? Atlanta says, oh, we had a water main break. And by the way, nobody can find any record of a water main break. But the people in Atlanta said, oh, we have to suspend the count because there's a water main break. So what happens? The Republican watchers go home, and then ba-boom, the Biden ballots start coming in. What happened in Michigan? They suspended counting. What happened in Wisconsin? In Milwaukee, actually, they announced that they were suspending the count for the evening. They sent the watchers home. And then overnight, while there were no watchers there, no Republican observers there, well, what happens? Biden comes up, they come up with, a couple of 100,000 votes for Biden, which put him over the line ahead of Trump. This is going to another where you got to ask yourself, how is it that all of these states, they suspend so that the watchers would go home, and then they come back and say, oh, by the way, while you guys were out, we had all these ballots come in, and we've run them through the machines. Too late to do anything about it. Now, in Philadelphia, we differently. Oh yeah, we suspended the vote for the evening, but even when the Republicans were there in the convention center in Philadelphia trying to observe, they corralled them like cattle behind these metal barriers. I mean, literally, they were 20 to 30 feet away, and when they tried to get closer even, they just moved the counting tables even further away. It was just crazy. So what you've got is a totally unverified and unverifiable bunch of votes cast by way of these mail-in ballots. But now there's a second phase to this, which is very interesting. And I'm rumors about this. And I did hear Sidney Powell, who I think is a very credible and solid attorney who represents General Michael Flynn. She was talking about this on Lou Dobbs. And that is that next week there is going to be a lawsuit filed addressing the manner in which the computer voting has been manipulated. And according to her, it's going to show that 3% of the ballots for Trump were either given over by the computer shenanigans. Those votes were either
George, you're breaking up a little bit.
For Trump were just destroyed.
George, you're breaking up a little bit. Sorry to jump back in again, but you're and where you started breaking up is you started to talk about a lawsuit that Sidney Powell wants to bring or said that's going to happen. That 3% of the Trump vote was, and then we lost you.
Okay, 3% of the Trump vote was either given over to Biden or part of it was given to Biden and the rest was destroyed or lost. And if they can come up with, the proof for that, that's also going to be a game changer. Because there you could actually do hand counts and determine how many votes were for Trump, how many were for Biden, and compare that to what came out of these computers. So all of this is going on. I got to say, if we don't get this straightened out, there may never again be another Republican president in this country. This goes beyond Donald Trump, and it goes beyond who wins this particular election.
Yeah,
I think
I
think it's very dangerous.
I think you're right. We're wondering if we'll ever have a really fair and honest election ever again in this country. If this is left to go the way it's going. Everything that you described is happening in Nevada. We're on that Dominion voting machine system, so we were part of the scorecard and hammer. Everything that you described going on about the counters, that was going on in Nevada, getting us 30 feet away, telling us it was over, where they were going home. One of our guys stayed clear through the night and watched them count even after they'd sent everybody home. He said, as long as I wasn't told I had to get out of here, I was going to just stay and sit here. And that's what he did. So not that he could see anything. And that's what we told him. Just stay, observe, tell us what happened, because we are serious here in Nevada. This thing needs to be resolved. And I think everybody in the United States is now getting very serious about it. George, it's been wonderful having you here as our guest. Would you please tell our listeners how they can get a hold of your article and follow you, friend you, just generally know what you're writing about?
Yeah, I have a blog called knowledgeisgood.net. That's all one word, knowledgeisgood.net. And I write for the American Spectator, so you can either read my articles at the American Spectator or and that's behind a paywall, but my blog is free. So I would urge all of your viewers to take a look at knowledgeisgood.net. And if anyone wants to reach me by email, my email address is KIGNET, as in KIGNET1 @gmail.com. net1@gmail.com.
Thank you so much, George Perry, for being our guest here on Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Take care, and God bless you.
Okay.
And,
Thanks.
and as our producer, Rick Trader, always says, avoid disappointment and future regret. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Broken AC, $4,600. Water heater, $1,500. Fridge on the fritz, $1,000. You need home warranty coverage from the Home Service Club for around $1 a day. If any of your covered appliances and systems break down, HSC will either repair or replace them.
HSC provides coverage of up to 47 different appliances and systems in your home.
I trust HSC.
HSC has over 15,000 pre-screened, highly rated technicians with the fastest response time in the industry. They cover everything from ACs, stoves, fridges, pool pumps, and more. Call the number on your screen now for a free no-obligation quote from a trusted HSC specialist about a home warranty for your entire home, backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get 1 month free plus $75 off your first year of coverage. 1 month free and $75 off your first year. The Home Service Club.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and 0 deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Well, Sharon, that just about wraps it up for today's show. I want to thank you for sitting in as my co-host. And Sharon, please tell our audience how they could follow what you do when you're not here.
Simply SharonAngle.com, SharonAngle.com. I want to thank our guests. We had a great guest today, John Cox, talking about California-centric issues and how it's really looking like the tide is turning in California. Our next guest, Dr. Julio Gonzalez, a new guest. We're grateful that he was able to come on with us, talking about what else? The Philadelphia corruption of the election. And finally, George Perry, Philadelphian and forensic officer, telling us exactly what happened in the Philadelphia area during the elections. Very, very interesting and alarming as well.
Very, very, very. Well, one good thing came out of Philadelphia. That's where I was born. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run and we got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.